get this started. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Wow. Welcome. I'm not 13, a lot older than 13. Should not be having voice cracking. Welcome to our student panel today. We'll let more people roll in. Hopefully they'll log in. I'm looking at the names of people who are here. And yes, the session is being recorded. I always forget to say that after people log on. I need to continue to do that. I mean, I know you can sort of see the little thing up there, but we will link it to our events page once this is done. And so if you, will somebody grab the events page, lettersandScience.ucdavis.edu/ I think it's just AEL, and put it in chat. That would be great. So yes, we will record this. We are recording this, and a link to the session will be posted once we're done. There are actually other sessions out there too on our YouTube page. So if you actually just go to YouTube and then search when you're on YouTube, College of Letters and Science, there are some recordings out there already for the last couple of weeks. So you might find some more sessions that might be of interest to you. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? You've already started with your questions. You clearly know the drill. There is a live transcript that's relatively new. So if you need captions, you can turn that on. So that's available. Perfect. That's exactly, is that it? Yes, I think that's it. That has all of our events linked. And it actually links to our page that has all of the registration and the Zoom recordings. Okay, so Q&A, definitely use the Q&A if you have questions. Hopefully you came with questions, because if you don't, then we're just going to sit here in an awkward silence. And I really can't do awkward silences. The chat is also open, so we will be posting, or we will be, communicating with you through chat too. So, but if you have questions, definitely use the Q&A. It just helps us kind of manage those, make sure that we're addressing as many of those as we can. So, hi everybody, I'm Mark Von Cannon. I do student recruitment for the College of Letters and Science, among other things. One of those things being working with these fine people who are ambassadors for the College of Letters and Science. Khalil's gonna show you what his t-shirt looks like, which Eva actually designed. These are a few of our ambassadors in the College of Letters and Science. And so I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we will take your questions live. Let's go alpha order. I find it easier that way, which means Alex, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I am Alex, or as you can probably see, my whole name's on the screen. I'm a fourth year senior at UC Davis. I'm majoring in political science and minoring in Chicanic studies. And yeah, she, her pronouns. And then should I popcorn it over to Khalil?
I think Ava's next. Sorry, Eva. Eva, you go next. First name Alpha. That's always, I'm doing it that way now.
Yeah. I'm Eva. I'm a fourth year cognitive science major, neuroscience emphasis. I'm from Culver City, so Los Angeles, and she, her pronouns. I think that's it.
Hi everyone, my name is Khalil. I am a third year political science, cognitive science double major, pronouns he, him, his, and I'm excited to answer any questions you have. And Yeah, looking forward to this.
Hello, sorry, my voice has been like off and on today. That comes with like studying and like not really talking as much. But anyway, my name is Metzli Montero. I'm a third year applied physics major from Montclair, California. So any SoCal people, that's where I'm from. And so I'm excited to answer all the questions that you guys may have about UC Davis or student life.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here to our guests. So yes, we're recording, and I just put the link to the college's event page there. So that's where we're posting all the recordings. So you can find some of those there, but also check out the YouTube channel. There are some other recordings from other sessions in there as well. Okay. How often should a transfer student meet with their academic advisor? What do you guys think? How often should you be meeting with your advisor? Alex, do you want to start?
I could take this one. So since you all are transfers, I know that there's the pressure of wanting to kind of get out there within like the 2-year time frame. It really just varies. I know that I have some transfer friends that are taking like the 3-year route versus a 2-year route. I personally wanted to do the 2-year route. So I wanted to meet with my counselor every quarter because I know that there were some disparities between like community college classes that maybe didn't transfer over and that I needed to take at UC Davis, which could deter my time there. Or maybe I had taken extra units that covered some of that, which would allow more flexibility within my schedule. So it really just varies. I personally would say if your goal is to get in and out of Davis within the 2-year time frame, definitely go every quarter. If it's 3 years, I mean, definitely go every quarter if you can, but you probably are in the room of flexibility to skip a quarter in between there at times.
Anybody else have advice on meeting with your advisors? In the College of Letters and Science, we actually require it. You all knew that, right? Because you have a hold on your registration if you don't come in and meet an advisor. So we require it, which sounds like a negative, but it's actually a benefit. You get to meet at least once a year with an academic advisor in your major office or in the dean's office. So definitely make use of that when you can. Quarter system. Let's talk about the quarter system. Anybody want to talk about the pace? How many weeks and the pace?
So I can talk about this. The quarter system is a 10-week system. So contrary to like semester system, which tends to run a little longer. So each year we have 3 quarters: fall quarter, spring, and winter. And pacing wise, it can go pretty fast. It could be week 2 and you're already having exams. So I guess it's really important to stay on track. And if you find yourself falling behind, communicate with your professors, your TAs, or even like go to your advisor and just talk about some difficulties, and maybe you need some extra accommodations that the school will be able to provide you. And if anybody else wants to.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. Just organization and time, like keeping track of your own time is really important. And I think you find that out really fast switching over from a semester system. And I think as long as you're cognizant of that and you go into it prepared and aware that, this might require a few changes in your own schedule, you should be fine. It's nothing that's, gonna completely throw you off, but it is good to go into it with a game plan. And especially if you're really nervous about your own workload, or you think you're gonna be balancing a lot of things like coursework, maybe a job and other things, also look at the number of units that you're taking. And like I see in the Q&A, like 17 for a first quarter is definitely, it's a very significant course load. And it's not to say again that it cannot be done, but that requires a lot more effort on your own part if you're making the transition and doing 17 units in a quarter.
Eva, what is a normal workload look like per quarter?
It's not too bad. It honestly, like Khalil said, it really just does depend on your unit count. And also, I think with the quarter system, it's also important to be like, oh, this class is going to be really difficult. Like I need to balance it out with some classes that I know are going to be lighter workload for sure. So I think, and that's the other thing too, is because there's 3 quarters. So you'll be taking like more classes and like things will balance out is what I'm saying, because you have the opportunity to take more classes and get through stuff that you don't like or is like a heavy workload.
Yep. Alex, was midterm in week 3 a surprise for you when you got here from a semester
Yeah.
community college?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was just about to add on to Metzli and what Khalil said. So I think from like a transfer perspective, we're so used to like having weeks 1 through 3 be like the easy transition syllabus week where I don't know about y'all, I'm from Orange Coast College, so if there's any OCC people, hi. I was so used to just read. First week was dedicated to the syllabus. Second week, they maybe assign a reading, and then there's like a little few assignments here and there. No, by week 3 you have midterms. By week 1, it's like first couple days are syllabus dedicated, maybe if you're lucky, but they really jump into like the material right away. I think that that's something for me that surprised me immensely was that when I got here, because you're going into straight into upper division level courses, they're gonna, be a bit, they're expecting upper division level work, right? So they read the syllabus, go through it with you, and then they hop right into the lecture. And for me, I was just kind of like, whoa, like, okay, like we're taking notes, we're doing this right now. And so it's a little bit shocking at first. You're going to want to get on top of it. That's something I definitely, regret not doing, is just like, me and my friends, it's I think it's called like the transfer shock, or like I forget the exact term, but there's like an adjustment period where you're kind of shocked, right? And you're kind of like, oh, I did not expect this time to go as fast as it did. So if you can, please like be on top of it, have like a list or a planner or Google Calendar to make sure that you're on top of that earlier in the weeks. Unfortunately, it's really sad, unless you introduce yourself to your professors, they're not going to know that you're transfer students, and they're not going to know that you just got there and that you are struggling with this new system from going from semester to quarter, and that it's all fast. Not to mention, if some of you are poli-sci or social science based, Davis tends to be a bit more statistic math oriented, which as someone who doesn't like math, I was very shocked at that. So it's a really big adjustment. Just make sure you're on top of it. Communicate with your professors.
Excellent. Yeah. Great advice, everybody. So there's a question about seminars versus courses. Did anybody do any like first year seminars or Aggie Connection type courses? Yeah. Do you want to talk about the difference between what that might be versus like a course, like either a major related course or a GE course?
Sure, I don't mind
Khalil.
talking a little bit about it. I did an Aggie Connection, and I did a first year seminar, a few actually. And a seminar is not the same as a typical class. Your course is pretty analogous to like a class. You probably have already a pretty vivid idea of what that consists of. A seminar, on the other hand, is typically for first year students, and they're usually more niche topics. So the one that I took was regarding like a very specific immigration ban. It was like a political class, and really looking at the intricacies of that. And it is, I don't want to say it's for fun, but typically they're more for your own passion, your own interests, and they're smaller class sizes, and they're a good opportunity to meet other students who are interested in the same topic. And so again, it's sort of like I'd say a diet class, where it's not the same amount of rigor as a typical class, and it's not the same class size. So it's like a smaller version of that. Class light is another great term. And then an Aggie connection is not, it is like on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, and that's a completely social aspect. There might be some Aggie connections that have, academic interests, but the real purpose of an Aggie connection is to help you meet other students and form a community. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Anybody else do any like seminars or?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be able to do both an Aggie connection and a seminar. And for transfer students out there who are looking for student research, there's a lot of cool, fun student research seminars. For me, I was fortunate enough to do a seminar where we studied mice neurons. So it was cool to be able to go to like the vet school area and just talk to some like professors and graduates in really small groups. So I thought that was really cool, but unfortunately, like there were some like forest fires happening my freshman year, so that was kind of cut short. But for Aggie Connections, as Khalil mentioned, it's a little more laid back. I joined a knitting group for queer community, and so I thought that was a really cool like group to learn more about the different like queer communities on campus, as well as like ways I can be a better ally and learning how to knit all at the same time. So yeah.
A win-win for you. Love that.
Can
Oh,
I'm gonna mention
yeah,
one more
great.
thing about the
Yeah.
freshman seminar. One thing I noticed is it's a really small class size, but also since the topics are so niche, you're gonna get like a really passionate and awesome staff member, professor, assistant professor, whatever, who loves what they're talking about, and like has a lot to say, super knowledgeable, really, really passionate. Like, I think that for me was like the most meaningful thing, was like connecting with like a staff member that was like super awesome, super happy to be there, loves working with students.
And quickly to add on that note too, like they signed up to be like a freshman or first year seminar professor. And so they really love like sharing what they do and working with you. In my seminar, even like the professors was like, told us that any of you guys are welcome to join our lab, or if you're interested in something else, I can put you in touch with somebody else in the department. So as mentioned, any of you looking for research, that might be an outlet that you look into.
And those seminars and Aggie Connections generally are like 1 or 2 units. It can depend, but they're generally 1 or 2 units. And so often they are a nice way to just kind of round out your schedule, get you to 15 units to be, on track, and just often just give you something kind of fun to do, like knit or learn about witches or volcanoes or ghosts and different things. Like there are some crazy topics, crazy topics. Okay, so Loretta, to answer your question about older students, are older students embraced? There is a non-traditional kind of re-entry student population, absolutely, at UC Davis. I'm going to drop in the chat a link to the TRC, the Transfer and Reentry Center. You've probably seen it already, but if not, check that out. I know that they have peers, they have student staff that work on building community and engagement. And generally, when we're in person, which we will be in fall, that is the plan. Like they'll have a place for students to go. Like there's an actual place that you can go and meet people. and like I said, build community. So I hope that that answers that question.
I also really quickly want to
Yeah,
spotlight
yeah.
a club. I don't know how active they are this past year, but they're the OWL Club, Older Wiser Learners, and I've seen them on campus holding activities. So that might be a good club to connect with to direct you to additional resources.
Thank
I
you.
put the link
Thank
in
you.
the chat.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Mark, if I could just boost what you said with like my experience with TRC, they are amazing. They're the reason, the whole transfer program is the reason why I decided to also commit to Davis. They flew us in, you know, had us visit the campus throughout the school year when things were in person. And like Mark said, hopefully this year it will remain, you know, the same in terms of the activities that they bring back. They'll actually pay for you to go on like small trips and connect with each other. So I actually got the opportunity to go to somewhere in the Bay Area with a bunch of transfer students of variety of ages. I have very like older friends as well as people who are like 23, 21, 22. And you all just kind of connect as like a transfer community. So they really do a phenomenal job in really making sure that you feel at home at Davis and that you find your community. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I promise you won't have trouble finding peers that you connect with or friends at all.
And to quickly add on to that as well, at least from the physics department wise, we have a lot of like older students, and more often than not, like, I guess there's like a lot of intermingling between like transfer and like freshmen who were at Davis since freshman year. And so as Alex said, I wouldn't have too much concerns about, I guess, intermingling and finding community.
Excellent. Should students get bikes? I have my answer. Anybody want to offer theirs?
I think it depends. If you don't like walking that much or taking public transportation, then maybe consider getting a bike. For me, I had a bike freshman year, but then I just kind of started to prefer walking and taking public transportation. So I don't use my bike anymore, but as mentioned, all really depends on you. Just be safe out there, please.
I would like to argue if you know how to bike, I 110% think you should get a bike. In fact, take advantage that Davis is a bike friendly town. I have never, ever, first of all, seen a town that is so bike friendly. Like literally, you can bike from across town anywhere you want to, all bike accessibility. So it's been really nice because I'm one that I took public transportation down in SoCal for a couple of years of college, and that was really rough. And so I did not want to do that again. I wanted to be in control of my own schedule and my own, you know, capabilities. So it's just really like, it's really nice to just know, okay, like I physically can make it here within 10 minutes. So, you know, I can leave around this time. Whereas if you were to take the bus, you'd kind of have to navigate the bus schedule. Sometimes that's not on time. Sometimes it's off schedule. It's just kind of complicated. So if you know how to bike, you should get a bike.
Eva, you lived on campus your first year?
Yeah,
Did you?
I really liked.
Did you,
Yeah, I liked having a bike a lot. Like Alex said, like it's built for biking. Like of course you can walk, but like it like it's flat. There's bike circles. Like if you know how to ride a bike or you want to learn or whatever, you're comfortable doing that, I go for it. Yeah, totally.
and the campus is closed to vehicular traffic mostly. I mean, you know, there are often construction crews and like delivery vans and stuff coming through, but otherwise the campus is closed to vehicular traffic. So biking is pretty easy and pretty safe as long as you know how to navigate a bike circle. And Metzley's gotten stuck in a bike circle before. I have to. I have to. I didn't see it. I didn't witness it, but I believe it.
I will.
'Cause you
I will
can.
say, okay. Oh, and for those of you who like don't know how to ride a bike but kind of want to learn just for like the Davis to become a Davis biker, there are a lot of people who learn how to ride their bikes on campus. You see them around on weekends when like the traffic is pretty much non-existent, or even in the afternoons by the freshman transfer dorm areas. So if you want to learn to ride a bike, like you can do it on campus. And it's fairly safe because, as Mark said, there's pretty much no like, I guess, vehicles because it's very bike friendly. But on that note of getting stuck in a bike circle, it wasn't a traumatic memory per se, but it made me realize to get to class early because, you know, when the traffic hits, it's kind of hard to navigate with hundreds of bikes on the road.
I just picture you've probably not seen it because you're too young. National Lampoon's European Vacation when they get stuck in the traffic circle in London. You seen that? Like all I picture is Messi going around like Silo, Student Community Center, Silo,
And
Recall, Student Community Center, just keep going around and around.
okay, granted, it was the bike circle by Wellman Hall. And if those of you who have biked and know what bike circle I'm talking about, it's really small. So
On the
yeah.
backside, the one on the backside?
Yeah, I think it's by California Hall as well.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah. I get you on that one. for
There's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. There's something about that. I've avoided that bike circle since that day. But
I just go right through because a lot of the little bumps have been removed, so I just go straight through. No, I'm not kidding anybody.
disclaimer,
All right.
obey traffic laws.
Please obey all traffic laws and wear a helmet. How about bike theft? So if you don't have a bike and you get a bike, please don't spend a lot of money on a bike. Like go to an auction, go to your police department because they often do auctions, go to Facebook Marketplace. Like do not spend a lot of money on a bike. Just make sure it works pretty well. And get a good lock. Get a good like kryptonite U-lock, maybe 2. Okay, we've digressed enough about bikes. Let's move on. So can you guys talk a little bit about the advising structure? And then I'll talk about Aggie advising, the orientation stuff, but talk about the advising structure, like the differences between major, dean's office, peer, using your faculty. Who wants to start? Maybe talking about your major advisor, like what that means.
I can mention something about major advising. Visiting your major advisor, or maybe a different major advisor if you're thinking of double majoring or like minoring, is super helpful when figuring out if you want to graduate in, let's just say, 2 years or an extended 3 years or more. Not only is it like a great reassurance to know that you're on track and you're not missing anything, but it's also really nice to hear some feedback about what are some good classes that students in the past have enjoyed. What are perhaps some professors that like maybe instead of multiple choice, they're really like essay writing heavy. So I'd recommend going to your major advisor if you have questions about your major, about certain classes, or perhaps you're considering changing majors, double majoring, or minoring. If anyone else wants to add.
And career options for your major advisor. I think like talking about career and maybe grad school options, they're a great resource for that. Your dean's office advisor, who has talked to their advisor in the dean's office, maybe for graduation requirements, anything like that?
Yeah. So the difference between that and the dean's office is, like Metzley mentioned, there's different requirements for everything. So you want to make sure that you're covered in terms of your major requirements. So that has like a different requirement checklist sheet that you need to go over with your counselor. And the college also has their own requirements. One of them being like, you know, the writing requirement that some people need to take. You need to make sure to talk to them about that. The language requirement, just little niche things like that. They have their own structure already with them, and they'll give you kind of like a worksheet, sit down with you, just make sure that you're all good for graduation in terms of doing that. Because if you're not good with your college requirements for, you know, the dean's office, then, you know, I'm not too sure, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you want to make sure that you're good with that if you want to graduate. So that's the really crucial and important one. That's the one that not a lot of people visit quite frequently, because I feel like there isn't also that many requirements. You visit them more so while you're heading near your end of your, you know, career time at UC Davis. But you honestly only visit them kind of once in a blue moon. There's that hold, which you want to make sure you want to get rid of once you enter Davis. So make sure you go and talk to them, that make sure that that's all good in terms of writing, language, all that kind of stuff.
And then anybody use faculty, go into office hours? You want to talk about what that means, what that looks like?
Yeah, all faculty and TAs who help teach your class have office hours, and they're very underutilized in my experience, at least. I remember my very first year in my largest class I probably took at Davis, which was my Paul 1 Intro to American Politics class, in a class of like 400 people. I showed up to office hours almost like every week, and I was the only student who went to office hours. And the benefit of that is that you have this personalized one-on-one experience, and you get to talk to your professor, and she was really helpful. And I was also just trying to build my network and connection at that point in Davis. And so I was talking to her about, you know, what does your research look like, and what do you do? What has your path been? And so the professors in my experience have been very approachable and are willing to, you know, help you besides just the coursework. So whether that's, you know, with research opportunities, whether that's with finding your own place and finding what classes you might be interested in, the professors and TAs as well are very helpful with that.
And then, so finally, on the topic of advisors, you will meet with your, you're all transfer students, right? Is anybody not a transfer student? Will you let me know in the chat if you're not a transfer student? Because if you're all transfer students, then how it works for you all, and I will drop a link in here, is you will meet with your major advisor for orientation. So, so you do, once you tell us you're coming, once you say, yes, I'm going to choose UC Davis, I want to attend in the fall, at that point, you then, I'm trying to find the page here. You can start your step 1 of orientation, which is actually Aggie 101. So it's an online module based, like you do it on your own time, program for orientation. And then once that's complete, you make an appointment for Aggie advising. And for transfer students, you meet directly with your major advisor. So the major that you declared when you applied, that is generally where you will make an appointment to do Aggie advising. And so on that website that I just linked in there, you'll see, if you click through to transfer Aggie advising, you'll see that Aggie advising in our college begins on June 14th. Again, finish Aggie 101, that's the online module system, and then you can make your appointment for Aggie advising. And then you come to campus in the fall for Aggie orientation. And at this point, it is planned to be in person. It's a 4 or 5 day program, and it's actually planned to be in person. All right, Kenneth, I hope that that answered your question about advising. I do want to talk about Transfer Edge. Actually, I will talk a little bit about Transfer Edge in a second, but does anybody commute? Is anybody driving? Has anybody driven to campus? Know about the parking situation?
Sorry, Messi, if you can go ahead. If you...
I was gonna not speak from personal experiences, so you can go ahead.
The same goes for me. It was my best friend drives because I didn't drive until recently. And I'll say that if you don't get a parking pass, there's no parking. You have to get a parking pass if you're going to commute, because the surrounding city area doesn't have public parking. So they're all residential parking areas. In terms of our on-campus parking structures, there are multiple spots on campus, and there are some spots that are more popular and that occasionally get filled up. And so you'll still have a parking spot like at one of the parking spots on campus, but there definitely are spots that are more popular. I don't know, Metzi, if you had anything to add onto that.
Yeah, I will say that to some extent, like if perhaps you have an early class, it's nice because if you drive to campus, it's, I don't want to say easy, but there's still a lot of space for you to park in. But if you like to sleep in late and you commute to campus at like noon, there's a high probability that you will either find parking really far away from campus or you won't find parking spaces at all. So I guess get a parking pass and then maybe commute early, but yeah.
And so Kenneth, this is also your question. Parking is changing this year after July 1. Actually, it's already sort of changing. And so parking is now by the day. So I think there will be maybe an option for long-term permit, but it might be very limited. And I don't even know if students will be able to purchase like a monthly, multi-month, or quarterly parking permit. It's actually by the day, and it's, what is the app? Park Mobile. It's Park Mobile. It's actually pretty convenient and it's cheap. It's $3 for the entire day. And once you're on campus and you need to move, like you can move to other places as long as you stay within the level of the spot that you purchased, like a commuter spot or lower, because there's it's L, but it's like long range. I think it's called L for long range, which means it's far. You're gonna have to walk pretty far. But that's where a lot of open spaces end up being. Anyhow, daily parking, but to the points that Khalil and Metzley both made, it does fill up pretty early in the day. So if you're commuting, you may want to plan to be here pretty early. Or else plan to walk, or like grab a scooter or lock a bike near, because there are bike racks near some of the parking lots that are kind of further out. And so parking and then biking around and then locking your bike back up is also an option. Okay. All right, so Transfer Edge, here's the deal. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that it's part of summer sessions and it's kind of like a bridge program for transfer students. But you do get credit. So I just put the link in the chat. It is still, I believe, open for applicants if you're interested. You do get some credit, university writing, first year seminar. And then the timeline and everything, I think, is on that site. So check that out. I wish I had more information about it. There are just so many programs on campus that we couldn't possibly know all of them. All right, I hope that helps. All Okay, do we want to talk more about advisors? Loretta asked more about advisors, or did we cover that? Alex, is that why you?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, like, because I think coming from a community college, I personally was also shocked, like, why are there advisors for every single thing I want to ask a question to? Because we come from a school where we just go to one person for everything. I think there's a beauty actually within that because every advisor has kind of like their own perspective or opinion to everything. So we kind of broke down like the difference between the college versus your major. And if not to confuse any of you all, but if you were to down the road want to minor in something, there's also advisors for your minor. There's peer advisors, so a lot of students, which if you are ever interested in, they're constantly hiring. So that can be there to support you, answer any questions, kind of go more in depth than what we all can in terms of specifically what you want to study or what your kind of end goal, academic goal is. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not meant to confuse you. It's just meant to provide you the best support they possibly can. And with the campus with so many students, that's the only way to effectively go about that to make sure that you meet your academic needs and goals. So, so I hope that kind of clarifies the difference between that, Loretta.
And I'm just going to tack more onto that. Hopefully I don't muddy the waters even more, but we gave the link to the TRC, but there are lots of different centers on campus, like community centers, LGBTQIA, what other centers? The African Diaspora and Academic Success Center. There are just a bunch of different community centers, and there are staff in there too that can help students. It's not so much like the straight or strict academic advising, but it's more about like community advising, like how to get involved, or maybe you have an idea for a program, and so working with a staff in one of those areas. Those are also people that are here to support you in an advising or a counseling role. And then, speaking of counseling, Student Health and Counseling Services has mental health counselors that are available to all students. It's part of your fees, and you can make appointments directly with a counselor. They do group counseling sessions. Some of it is just, figuring out how to maintain balance, or maybe anxiety. And so some of that can be done in group settings, but some of it's very personal, and they do one-on-one. In the dean's office, as well as in the major offices, we can refer students directly to a counselor. So if a student were having difficulty, and it sounded like maybe it's time to talk to a counselor, we can make referrals directly to counselors. We have 2 embedded right in the dean's office. So I mention all of that to really help you understand that there's a lot of support available. Okay, so the last part to Loretta's questions is about all the other units. If you only need to take 40 units to finish your degree, what else might you do with the space available? Every student needs to have under 180 units to graduate. That's the minimum. But a lot of majors don't require that many to finish. So I know some students are double majoring. And for transfer students, that can be a little tricky. It could be harder because some of their prereqs aren't met to add another major. Eva, what would you suggest students do if they're looking like to round out their schedule with additional units?
Well, if you have the space, I would definitely say to like explore like within your field. So like a lot of those units could overlap with like if you wanted to add a double major or a minor. So a lot of those units could overlap. So if you can explore a little and find something that's really closely related, that could be really awesome. Or you could go full whatever, take a 180 and like, you know, like get a minor in something that's totally unrelated, and that's like totally possible. A lot of people do that. But yeah, I would definitely, like, if you have room in your schedule, like definitely do a little asking around whatever forums and be like, what like intro class have people taken that they loved, and like what is a good minor for this major, whatever. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. So if you are like actively looking for classes to take, like, yeah, take advantage of just being able to explore.
What other advice do you guys have for that?
I'd say that, if you have the option, obviously, to add on like a minor, for example, which are typically 20 units. But if you also just want to take those units to explore classes that just sound really interesting to you, that's totally an option for you as well. So you could be, I don't know, a political science major and take one of our most popular classes, a coffee lab. That's a class that you make your own coffee, and I've heard that the everyone does a taste test, and whoever wins and gets the most votes gets extra credit. This is what I've been told. Tractor driving, as Mark put in the chat. So you can take a lot of classes that just, maybe they don't relate to your academic interests, but your own personal interests, and that'll still fulfill your degree requirements.
That's exactly right. Oh, thank you, Loretta. Appreciate that. Does anybody else have any more questions? We're here for you. I'm curious, of the students who are visiting today, are any of you planning to live on campus? I think, Kenneth, you said you might be commuting from Sacramento, but are there any of you who might be planning to live on campus? Because if you are, we will guarantee you a spot. And happy to answer questions you may have about it. So if you are, oh, Naily, yeah, great. So a lot of students do live on campus, and I think we see really a mix at the transfer level. I think for that population, we see the most mix of living situations, because the Los Rios Community College District is so big. We get a lot of students from that district, and so a lot of students do commute from Sacramento. But then some students, some transfer students are a little older. Maybe they have jobs, maybe they have families, and so we have family options, housing options on campus. But then students rent too. And so, but if you are planning to live on campus, you are guaranteed a spot in the Green. The Green is a brand new facility. It's actually kind of in my neighborhood. It's on the west end of campus. And so if you do plan to live on campus and you get a spot in the Green, a bike would be a good idea. They do have a bus that comes through West Village, but having a bike would be a great idea because it's like a 5-minute bike ride to campus. I mean, you're on campus, but you're on the west end of campus. And yes, there are roommate searching options for students both on campus, and I believe if you go to the housing website, there are resources, or maybe it's ASUCD. Do you know this, Khalil? Is finding roommates off campus? There's a housing.
It's a student housing and dining services. I believe it's called RoomSync. They might have updated it in recent years, but that at least was accurate a few years ago. And they probably offer the same service. I know also a lot of students, yeah, for off campus, Facebook is your best bet. There are also some other services I'm sure you get. Like I know when I was entering UC Davis, they sent a lot of emails. But if you're searching for an off-campus, Facebook might be a good idea to check out. If you just search UC Davis um, housing, I can't remember the exact name of the pages, but there is a bunch of great pages, and I know a lot of my friends who have found roommates through that.
And there's probably a transfer class of 23. Y'all are the transfer class of 23. So there's probably a Facebook group for UC Davis transfer class of 23. So I would also join that if you're on Facebook. And that might also be a place where you can start to ping people if you're interested, if you're looking for a roommate. Okay. Okay, I think we answered the housing questions. Yay, we have more questions. Good. If you apply on time for housing, you are guaranteed housing. If you submit your SIR, your statement of intent to register by June 1, and you get your housing application in on time, you're guaranteed housing as a transfer student, and you get it for 2 years. You will be guaranteed. You have to reapply, but they are guaranteeing housing for 2 years. Maybe not where you're at. You might be put someplace else, but you are guaranteed housing for 2 years. Oh my gosh, we got a food question. We don't have enough time.
I was
We
gonna
only have
say,
8 minutes.
could we just like list them and put them in the chat? Because there's a lot.
You should definitely do that. Yeah, everybody do that. Everybody put your favorite places in the chat about your favorite food places. But does anybody also want to talk about it live? My voice hurts. I want to talk about
Okay, well, everyone's, I think, I'll go really quick. There's a lot of good places, both on campus. We have a bunch of good food trucks. My favorite food truck is Shaw's Halal Food. I swear by it. It is amazing. It's, I don't know how to, Mediterranean, I guess, the cuisine type. And then in downtown, which is right next to campus, there's also a lot of great places. I know my friends often go to El Burrito, which quality of food, I don't know, but like experience, A1.
what else? I mean, the dining halls are great. Like, I don't think you can go wrong at any of the dining halls, but I did put Latitude in there because it's the newest one. And it's a global theme. So they, the menus rotate, but they focus on sort of non-traditional American food. So they take a more global approach to serving the food. Eva, yes, go.
Last time I was at Latitude, they had gelato, like all these gelato options. Yeah. So that they do a good job. But otherwise on campus, like you have the dining halls and then Latitude, which is like kind of a dining hall, and then like there's a bunch of places to get food. Like you won't go hungry.
And if you live on campus, I don't know. Oh, Metzli, go. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I typed everything in the chat. Go ahead.
I don't know if you are in transfer housing, do you get a meal plan because they're apartments? You do. So maybe it's an option, or is it part of it? I don't know. I'm looking at you, Alex.
Sorry to butt in, just my tour guide brain is kicking in. It's an option if you live in West Village area. So it's not automatically included, but you can like opt into that.
Okay. So if you're living in the green, which is in West Village, then it would be an option. And so if it's an option for you, it also comes with your meal plan, then comes with what we call Aggie Cash, which is basically like your ID card, which is what you use to swipe into your building, but also swipe into the dining halls, is also sort of like a debit card. You get $200 automatically every quarter, and it rolls over to the next quarter until the end of the year. So at the end of the year, everybody's using up their. Does anybody have any leftover Aggie Cash? You can use it at different places on campus, the marketplace, some of the food trucks, like some of the cafes and stuff on campus, you can use the Aggie Cash for that. So yes, lots and lots of good food. And if you're vegan or plant-based, like I am, it used to be hard, but it's not anymore. It's a lot easier to find food options. And if you're gluten or any of those, and if you need special diet considerations, there are dietitians that work with our students in the dining halls. So lots of great options. Okay. There is a question about double majoring, and we should probably address that. So how many units are required to complete a double major? How many units would you have to take per quarter to fulfill both majors in 2 to 3 years? So does anybody want to start on that? I mean, I can go ahead.
Oh, no, let Eva, you go.
I was just gonna say, I think like that's a good question for your major advisor. Like you can figure that out them like yourself, but they're there to help you. And like if you, especially because they are that major advisor, they know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah,
And
any
it
answer
will
we
vary. Oh,
give,
please.
yeah, any answer we give will vary because majors are all different. Each major has a different number of degree requirements. The major that you're pursuing right now might have more overlap with the major, like one major versus another. So it's hard to give one answer that fits all, and major advisor is your best bet to go for that.
And if you're interested in adding like a different major or minor, you don't have to like be enrolled in any classes yet. You can still book appointments to talk to them to see if it's a possibility to add a minor or major. I also don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but for transfer students, if your plan is to get out of there in 2 years, just expect for there to be an overwhelming amount of units per quarter if you're trying to major in something. That's why I minored. I would have loved to major in Chicanic studies, but I would have had to stay there for 3 years. So just wanted to put that out there. But yes, definitely talk to peer advisors, academic advisors.
Sorry, typing an answer. Typing an answer. Okay, see if I got that right. I'm responding to Kat. Okay. Answer that, answer that. Yes, depends, all those things. Perfect, good. Any last questions? Since it's almost 5 and we were talking about food and now I'm really hungry. And who wants to buy me dinner with their leftover Aggie Cash?
I will say though, if you put Aggie Cash into your Aggie card, you get a 10% off discount at like food eateries on campus, and even like the food trucks. I was actually debating on putting Aggie Cash into my card because I tend to lose things, so I tend to not bring my wallet on campus. Also, because I have a spending food on campus problem. So I was debating on putting Aggie Cash as like an emergency food sort of thing. Yeah, but I think a cool thing about campus, it's located really close to downtown, so you can walk with classmates to get food too.
Yep, so many places downtown too. And the farmers market. Did we talk about the farmers market? Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings, farmers market. #1 farmers market in the state of California. I don't know how many years running or if we still have it, but for a long time it was the #1. Okay. Are we good? If you're still here, we'd love to say thank you for being here. And would you also say thank you to my lovely panelists, Alex, Metzley, Eva, Khalil. It's like what was that game show? The Squares, Hollywood Squares. Hollywood Squares. You guys are awesome. Thank you for doing this. Thank you all for being here. If you're still here, here's my email address. If you need anything, And then here's just a list of helpful websites too that I put together. So there's that too. So snap that, click them so you don't lose them when we end. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. See ya.